Now to the refugee crisis in Europe, where two more countries have tightened their borders. Denmark announced today that it's instituting ID checks on its frontier with Germany. This after Sweden enacted a strict new border policy. The moves further erode the 20-year-old Schengen Agreement, which is supposed to guarantee free movement of people and goods across most of mainland Europe. From the Danish capital, Copenhagen, special correspondent Malcolm Brabant reports.
Midnight at Copenhagen Airport Station, the last stop before Sweden, and security guards begin to check the identities of those travelling across the bridge linking the two countries. Sweden insisted on new controls, warning transport companies they risked heavy fines if undocumented travellers were allowed through. Passengers dismount from Sweden-bound trains to have their papers scanned. There's a long fence between the tracks to stop people from trying to escape the checks.
I trust my government. We have taken a huge responsibility within Europe and with the refugees, so that we cannot take any more.
It's a huge backward step, because Sweden is a free country and everyone should come, and even if they need help, they should be getting it here or where they can.
It's just as if you're living in a foreign country now, you know. Yeah, no free movement, so it is really 2 steps backwards.
Precisely 12 hours later, Denmark's Prime Minister Lars Løkke Rasmussen responded by announcing controls along the border with Germany. The Danish measures will initially be in place for 10 days, but the government warned the procedures could be extended.
Malcolm Brabant from PBS News, our Prime Minister. Do you think that you are going to contribute to a crisis further down the line in other countries in the rest of Europe and perhaps beyond?
I think it's pretty obvious that we are in a situation, if the European Union can't protect the external borders, you will see more and more countries which will be forced into introducing temporary internal border control. This is something we need to take very seriously, because it will have a negative impact on prosperity. I'm a true believer of the freedom of movement. This is not a happy moment at all. We have invested billions in infrastructure between Sweden and Denmark. We have invested millions in international branding of the Greater Copenhagen region. So this is a step backwards.
But Trine Christensen, a senior official of the human rights group Amnesty International, is concerned that other nations along the refugee trail back to Greece will now follow suit at a time when migrants who aren't from Syria, Iraq and Afghanistan are stranded.
What we're seeing today is that Sweden is desperately trying to get the rest of Europe to actually face up to its responsibilities. If there is a European response to this crisis, there can be a solution. There can at least be a way of distributing the burdens and to help people who are in desperate need of protection.
Christensen is particularly worried about the long-term impact on Turkey, Lebanon and Jordan, which have taken in many more refugees than the 1 million or so who've entered Europe over the past year.
If we continue to see what is happening today, and that is the majority of countries trying to shirk that responsibility, trying to avoid helping, then we will see a build-up of more and more problems and more refugees, and a pressure on the local areas, on the neighboring countries, which they are not able to bear in any way, shape or form. And if that happens, and those countries start to implode, that's when we'll see a refugee problem that will make what we have today look like nothing at all.
But the most pressing concern for Michael Randrup is an economic one. He represents 15,000 people who live and work in the cross-border region and commute between Denmark and Sweden. Their lives have suddenly become more complex and disrupted.
Some of the passengers say that this is a new Iron Curtain, and other passengers say that this is a new Berlin Wall.
For the past 20 years, businessman Ture Erdmann has lived in Sweden, where homes and cars are cheaper, and worked in Copenhagen, but he's now contemplating moving to Denmark.
Ladies and gentlemen, next stop, first stop in Sweden, Hyllie, and please note that In Sweden we have border control, so please have your passports or other identification cards ready.
The whole idea of the Schengen is that we have external border controls, and now suddenly that seems to be breaking down, and each country is raising their inner borders. So suddenly the whole European community, the whole cooperation across borders seems to be challenged a lot. So I think that's worrisome.
The impact of the changes is also being felt north of Copenhagen on the main ferry route linking Denmark and Sweden, which is in competition with the bridge. The ferry company fears the cost of implementing the new measures will cost at least $3 million a year. Chief Executive Henrik Röbeck has complained to the European Union about Sweden's action and wants Stockholm to pay compensation.
It means, like, for example, if you in New York wants to pass the Brooklyn Bridge, then you have to show ID. I'm quite sure that every American would consider this as a mess.
This is another nail in Schengen's coffin.
Hopefully not. I mean, what we need now is the European leaders who should respond to this. I mean, we have been pushing and pushing for a European solution. So this is a clear signal that Europe now needs to take decisions which can protect the external borders.
Denmark's actions have been greeted with disappointment in Germany, which, along with Sweden, has welcomed most refugees during this crisis. The German Foreign Ministry spokesman described freedom of movement as the European Union's greatest achievement, but he warned that the Schengen area was in danger. He said it was crucial that common solutions were found to the migrant flow. But throughout this crisis, national interest has taken priority over European unity. Today's developments reinforce that trend. For the PBS NewsHour, I'm Malcolm Brabant in Copenhagen.